Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today, we continue turning this place topsy-turvantious in search of one last loose end. And boy, is it a messy one. Long time coming, too. We know he's around here somewhere, so let's get back to it. Albeit with some due caution, of course. We've got traps.
Always keep your eye on the prize.
Yeah, I don't like that. The cage bars and floor are covered in caked-on blood.
I always keep my options open.
The Xenos torture device has been placed out in the open. It clearly sees regular use. Gross. Dead tech priest. The corpse in tech priest garb was shot in the head. More likely a cold-blooded execution than a death in combat. Huh. Why would he... Oh. Yeah, why would his corpse just be left out in the hall, whereas most others are all recycled or repurposed? Yeah. Lift call panel is unresponsive, so that's likely our shortcut back out. After we confront Tervanti-us.
I sense something nearby.
That dungeon formula is a mite bit predictable. Navigate the gauntlet to the final boss, then find a convenient shortcut to let you back out. Xenos lore check, off left. And this definitely looks like a fight chamber. Oh, with a lore object, far end. Let's get a gander at this. Thick green sludge, a condensed solution that Xenos use for growing clones, is still running down the walls of the large, heavy glass capsules. Yeah, I think we're going to have to fight a bunch of clones here. Oh, wow, okay. Ah, well, that's not quite what I meant, but you know what? That does track. Tervanti-us does strike me as one who struggles to play well with others, so, you know, might as well play with himself. Inappropriate. You are looking at several completely identical homunculi at work. A disturbing sight. The indistinguishable and familiar faces turn their attention toward you, morosely and almost indifferently. The homunculi start talking over one another. "You!" one of them hisses through his teeth. "How dare you!" echoes another. "Show up here alive!" a third one finishes. "This is even better, though. Now I'll cleanse the shame of death with your blood, and then transform you and the scum you've brought along into something useful." Their colors. Horrible, frightening, tattered shades. Only a madman could do something like that to himself. Cassia looks away, horrified. The homunculi are twitching slightly, as though from invisible electric impulses. They look virtually identical, yet each seems to be missing something. A limb, an implant, even a facial feature or two. The single gaze of the many faces no longer seems full of haughty superiority only. Some kind of a shared defect also shows in it. Right, I'm guessing this must be the 6 faulty clones hinted at in the note we picked up back in the observation room. But as per Cassia's comment, with a single soul spread out over all of them. Though we're only seeing 5 at the moment. Plus the pain engine. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put it past him to not put part of himself inside of a Drukhari pain engine. I see you finally found someone willing to tolerate your company. Glad to see you're not the self-loathing type. I haven't finished yet. The homunculi break into psychotic laughter. One corporeal shell is too few. Deplorably, unacceptably few. Once my work is complete, not one monkey in the world will be able to destroy me completely. You are just a coward, hiding behind a panoply of masks. I will pluck off every last one. Also, I've really got to say, this seems like a pretty big step down from your last place. Old Imperial ruins? Not exactly up to your usual standards. A stupid question. The answer to which is of no importance to one who is about to be taken apart. I mean, sure, but it's still important to me, even if it's not to you. But it's fine, I can probably guess. I'm assuming you're not exactly welcome back in Camorra. Because of you, specimen. Because of your feeble wits and your deplorable, stubborn reluctance to die. In the thick silence, several clicks are heard as the copies move their limbs in an insect-like fashion. But I had to finish what I had started. Finish the masterpiece that had been taken away from me. Because of you. All because of you. Sure. Hey, just out of curiosity, is one of you the real you? Like the queen bee of the hive? Or are you all, like, networked together? Just trying to calculate the most efficient way to make sure you actually stay dead this time. One, many? What difference does it make? I'm on my way toward infinity, specimen. Toward genuine, limitless immortality. Uh-huh. And, how, pray tell, is that working out for you so far? Is the giant hole in your base over there part of it? The identical faces look annoyed and spiteful. For a moment, it seems the homunculi are about to reply in unison. But a barely perceptible electrical impulse stops them. One of them scoffs and mutters through his teeth. Just more proof of how unreliable partnerships with lower life forms are. Could be a reference to the Farseer we just put down for not completely protecting him from the Aldari blind fire bombardment. You notice one of the homunculi glances at the hole in the ceiling. Fury contorts the Xenos' face. Tervanti-us is unable to hide his anger at what happened. Whoever did it, and whatever it was they did, it enraged him. Interesting. So that really makes it seem like it's more than just the orbital bombardment. In fact, perhaps it's related to the dead tech priest out front, which would imply the lesser creatures he's talking about might actually be humans. The local settlers, perhaps? Winterscale, though he doesn't really strike me as the type. Hey, I couldn't help but notice the dead tech priest on my way in. I don't suppose he's got something to do with that? The homunculi are quiet, and then they start to giggle. The revolting sound makes your skin crawl. Scary, isn't it? The thought that you're not the only monkey who serves me. Try and guess, specimen. Try and guess. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. But thanks for giving me permission, I guess. Well, we'll see what that note has to say. I'll bet that'll give us some much-needed context. Alright, well, Turvy, it's been great catching up with you and all, but let's go ahead and get this over with. I already killed you once. Pretty sure I can do it, what, 5, 6 more times? Are you also the guy on the far right? You know what? Doesn't matter. An indulgent chuckle rolls like a wave from one homunculus to another. They answer all at once, an ominous choir filling up the room. Have you forgotten that I am a great master of flesh who has transcended death itself? Do you think it would befit me to let a monkey cut my path short? But you are not immortal, and we both know it. Juliet clenches her fists and gives the homunculus a look that could incinerate him. I am going to kill you as many times as it takes. In the name of my fallen kin, and in the name of Kruderok. Yeah, what she said. Don't worry, we'll make it quick. You're different from others of your species, specimen. This time around, I want to study you much, and I mean much, more thoroughly, which necessitates your death. I hope dying once isn't enough for you, either. Right. Yep, that tracks. Bunch of mooks to keep the pressure on, but the Tervanti-I are definitely our primary targets. Though I do notice, just at a glance, the one in center seems to be our main guy. And then the tubes. The tubes are also registering as hostile, so those are likely enemy spawners. The mooks they're spitting out do seem to be extremely fragile. So I'm not too worried about them. We'll primarily gun down the Tervanti-I. Unless, of course, they hit us with a major curveball like the Farseer did. Which is entirely possible, same dungeon. But obviously we won't know that until we're actually into it, so we'll adapt our approach as need be. For now, it feels pretty straightforward. Spawners all around us, so I guess we'll set up in the obvious spot next to these broken tubes. Abby up front, Paskin back. In fact, we'll get Abby right in there. He can keep the Tervanti-I busy while we Actually, why don't I just move everyone over there? Crush Tervanti-I quick, then deal with the ads if need be. Yeah. Hold on, let me just dig our guys in here real quick. Honestly, not really sure what I was thinking, setting our guys up halfway across the room. I guess because we've got 2 snipers in tow. It just felt natural to hang back and pop off shots, but that doesn't make sense when they're immediately surrounded on all sides. Also, that's pretty much exactly why Val is packing that shotgun. For occasions when he can't hang back. Alright, let's get this done. Take care of this clone survivor. Close this particular chapter. Though, that said, given some of the hints they're dropping, I do suspect we might have one more Tervanti-us out in the wild somewhere. We've only got 5 here. The implication was 6. Though, as aforementioned, I imagine... Oh, interesting. I think damage just got distributed over all of the Tervanti-I except for Tervanti-us Prime on center. The one far left, off screen now. He also took damage despite being outside of the radius of that blast. But yes, I imagine we'll have more to go on once we grab that lore note in front of Tervanti-us Prime. Or check out Tervanti-us's hole. Let me try something here.
Deliver us.
Okay, no damage distribution. Maybe he was in the AoE and I just didn't notice. Though that really does kind of speak to the utter fragility of most of these clones. As far as his potential human allies go, there aren't honestly a lot of folks it could be at this point. We're getting pretty late in the campaign. Winterscale might be an obvious choice, but I'm not sure about that guy. He did seem to have it in for the Eldari, and also simultaneously didn't care about our hunt for the hidden Drukhari. I'm just not sure I see him going that route. He seems more like a corrupted game-hunting noble as opposed to a Drukhari pawn. Governor Drivestem. There were some early hints in that regard, but I think we've kind of moved past that at this point. I think Governor Drivestem's... I think his entire arc was largely just revolving around Dargonis and Abby. Possibly Theodora, but we've never really seen any indications that she was in cahoots with Drukhari. She was definitely up to a bunch of other awful stuff, but not this in particular. Obviously not Incendia. The folks on Footfall are too small fry. So I guess really, by just sheer process of elimination, it kinda starts pointing us towards Calcazar.
Significant value.
I mean, we know it's gotta be someone with the Imperium, because there's a dead tech priest out front, kept separate from the numerous other corpses decorating the secret lab. I mean, that would track. I guess we do have other evidence that kind of points us towards the idea that Calcazar is the one who also destroyed Kruderok? Calcazar did something to Theodora and her retinue. The implication was that she became so violently paranoid because someone had stolen something from her and erased her memories and the memories of those around her to hide that they had done so, which I suspect might have been the weapon ultimately used to destroy Kruderok, which in turn is where Tervanti-us got his supply of Farseers. You know what? That does kind of track. But to what end? Nomos implied there's a planet at the center of all this. Eulogy? Epitaph? Oh, though, I assume if the ultimate secret he was trying to cover up, Kalkazar was trying to cover up, is whatever they found on Epitaph, then that kind of throws the whole team up with Drukhari thing out the window. Maybe? You know what, let's put a pin in that for now. We'll go ahead and wrap this up real quick. Then we'll get some additional, much-needed context from the note over yonder. Though, I mean, if you were going to engage in an ill-advised team-up with Tervanti-us, you would certainly assume it's because you needed something related to genetics or cloning. I'm just not sure how that would fit in with everything else. Oh, Conrad. You know what? I forgot about him. Right, yeah, he's such a non-entity now. I guess he could also technically be the guy who's teamed up with Tervanti-us, but that really feels unlikely. From what I've gathered, agents of the archenemy would not get along with Drukhari. Then again, there was the awfully coincidental theft of the Rykad system sun just as the planet below was being overrun by the Cult of the Final Dawn. Though that doesn't necessarily narrow things down, since, of course, that whole arc, Act 1 in general,
I am not your Xenos pet, monkey.
also had ties to Inquisitor Kalkazar through Heinrichs, as well as Winterscale, since that was his sector. Though he's also clearly falling under Chaos influence. I mean, it feels like Khorne, as opposed to Tzeentch. Or Tzeentch. Someone did recently correct me on the pronunciation. Though honestly, I do feel like trying to get consistently correct pronunciations of Warhammer 40k terminology is a perpetual losing battle. Even Rogue Trader seems to struggle with it from one voice actor to the next. I guess that is something I've previously speculated about. The key players in this grand overarching plot, each worshipping a separate chaos god. I mean, Winterscale seems like a lock for Khorne. Conrad slash what's-his-face, Chaos boss guy, Orlan the Cruel. Obviously, Tzeentch. Not confirmed, but we certainly got some strong hints of Nurgle from Incendia. Incendia and Hieronymus. That would leave Slaanesh. Possibly the governor of Janus, or her handmaiden, rather. Or Theodora. We know she dabbled in heresy. Oh, also, I guess Tzeentch technically had Aurora back on Rykadi and Bluff. Though Bluff was DLC. I mean, it does feel like we're going for a big Chaos Undivided thing here. Maybe Orlan the Cruel is actually Chaos Undivided, and Conrad is specifically the individual worshipper of Tzeentch under his purview. Though I guess that all kind of circles back around to where Inquisitor Kalkazar fits into all this, or Tervanti-us for that matter. Neither of them seem like the sorts to work with chaos.
Cover me!
Possibly to try to use them to their advantage, but not necessarily to serve the chaos gods themselves.
Will do.
See, like, at this point, I am kind of assuming it's all somehow interlinked, because there are several elements that previously did feel detached, only for us to eventually discover that they were, in fact, interlinked with other events.
Was that you? Or...
So now I'm treating the whole thing as one giant puzzle. You know, each individual piece has its place. I'm just not sure how they all fit together just yet, but it is very much a work in progress. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I want to get a gander at the lore book over yonder. Still got the big guy here, but that shouldn't be a problem. Also, unrelated, but if I were planning on running with Adira more often, I would definitely grab her that exemplar talent that lets her automatically go first on the first round of combat. Her group buffs with the Psy Raven are great. The problem is that she's not a character that naturally builds up a high agility.
Indeed.
So without the advantage of Grand Strat, she just can't really effectively deploy those group buffs early enough in the fight for it to really matter. Oh, look at that. There's our hole. That's not in the roof. That's in the floor. Also, guess we're not quite done just yet. Got a few more mooks to mulch. Alright, let me just buckle down here for a sec. Clear the mooks.
I am a navigator, not a servitor.
You never stood a chance.
What a pleasure.
Not a lot left. Should just be a moment.
You will pay for this in blood.
That's nice.
I'm not accustomed to being ordered around.
Your last stroke of luck.
Shoot, should have analyzed first. Or gone for a bleeding strike. Just sort of assumed Pask would one-shot him. It's fine. We're good. Get out of here. Please, child. You insult me. Hey, and nearly yet for the kill. That does seem appropriate. Alright, buddy, come on, it's over. Honestly, some people just can't take a hint. Interesting that we can't deliberately target the tubes, but we can destroy them if we catch them with strays. Or AoEs, I suppose. That probably would have worked too.
I'll see to it personally.
This can't be over.
Another enemy down.
And we're good. More or homunculus. Nice. And level up. Though obviously we'll worry about that later. Let's have a look around. I hunger for lore and context. Also, I guess, loot, but, you know, that's more a formality. I imagine the vast bulk of the stuff we'll pull off these guys is literally useless to us at this point. Yeah, all Xeno artifacts. Though Big T himself might have actually dropped something worth having. All right, bud, what do you got for us?
Keep your wits about you.
Blood Barrier Emitter. At the start of their turn, the wearer recovers wounds equal to the number of bleeding creatures. If at least one wound was recovered that way, one fresh injury is removed from the wearer as well. I mean, honestly, pretty underwhelming at this point. And the Arch Machinator's Deceit. Whenever the wearer uses an attack that is of a different type than the previous attack, they gain momentum equal to their resolve. I actually really like the way that looks. It's just, I'm not sure it's super useful for us. That's for, like, Arch Militants. Which is actually interesting considering that it's also locked to Drukhari. So it would literally have to be either Marazai or, at a stretch, Yurliet, if you specifically gave her the Drukhari equipment talent. Not to be confused with the Drukhari weapon proficiency, because I did actually have someone else note, or suggest rather, that we could also use the Farseer armor we found last time around for our normal psychics, but you actually can't, because humans can only take Drukhari proficiency. They can't take Drukhari equipment. That is specifically locked to Aeldari. I imagine because it's probably easier to learn how to wield an alien weapon than it is to spontaneously become 7 feet tall. Alright, let's crack open some lore. Damaged data slate. The data slate is dented, its screen displaying flickering colored stripes. The readable parts are twitchy and contain repetitions. Whereas prior studies pursued the goal of breaking new ground in recreating and reviving the specimen in the event of its death. The above-mentioned experiment laid the groundwork for modernizing and accelerating the recreation of a living organism from a minuscule sample of bone or muscle tissue. Every variety of living organism has been observed to release a number of chemicals at the moment of death that enable the creation of an entirely identical clone, with intact memories of its prior life up to and including the moment of death, most vividly detailed as to both physical sensations and emotional distress. As mentioned before, even a tiny modicum of bone or muscle tissue is sufficient for reviving or creating an organism in an adequate lab setup. Bear in mind that work on creating the new body must begin before the third stage of decomposition has set in. Oh, wait. Okay, well, on its face, that's obviously just Tervanti-us mulling over the specifics of his cloning tech. But that... The space around the hollow is littered with lumps of broken rockcrete. A feeble breeze blows through the ugly hole in the ceiling, stirring up whirlwinds of stone dust at your feet. The hole in the lab's vaulted ceiling and the hollow underneath it point you to the obvious conclusion. Something broke into this room, ripped out a piece of the lab, and dragged it outside. You are, for now, mystified as to what that something was. Through the piled-up rocks, dirt, and thick dust, you are able to make out parts of fixtures that were ripped out of their sockets and thrown to the floor. Parts like these are used for fastening industrial girders in place at large manufactorums around the Imperium. You study the edges of the breach carefully, reflect for a few minutes, and conclude that the hole in the lab ceiling was created by several powerful targeted explosions. After some more time, you note the characteristic marks on the debris and wall. The ceiling was breached using melta charges. Imperial tech. So whoever Tervanti-us was working with double-crossed him and stole whatever he was working on. Possibly cloning equipment. The seneschal looks around, frowning. I don't understand. Drukhari machinery and their toys seem out of place within these walls. They seem positively alien, in fact. These walls, why, this is the standard architecture of an Imperium bunker. Why would a Xenos conduct their business in a place like this? My kin were unable to find this place. The Dark Ones would hardly have been content with a single trophy, even one as great as this. No, this was done crudely and quickly, behavior more typical of Monkey. This world belongs to House Winterscale, but I don't understand. I refuse to believe His Lordship Caligos would ever collaborate with Xenos. Dark red and brownish green would envelop his figure every time the subject of hunting the enemies of humanity was brought up. He despised them, hated them. Yeah, I don't think it's Caligos. The broken stairs end at an empty spot where all that remains is the shattered floor and a small hollow. Interesting. Wait, also, if this was the boss room, then what was the elevator for?
Let us not dawdle.
Yeah, the elevator's halfway down the hall, so where does that Where does that go? Also, how do we activate it? Is it working now? Like, was it Tervanti-us kill switch triggered, perhaps? It does feel pretty far-fetched. That was right next to the dead tech priest. We either missed something, or there's something... Oh, or maybe we could just use it now.
Is there money to be made?
Nope, still broken. With no obvious way to change that. I mean, we can see it moving around just below us. Perhaps something will trigger when we try to leave. Maybe Tervanti-us' shadowy partner will, like, blast the entrance closed, try to seal us in, to bury us along with Tervanti-us' secrets, and then we'll have to come back to use the elevator. Which I suppose makes this a good time to go ahead and call it. Also, I'd want to give this place a full once-over again anyway, before we actually make our move to leave. Also, in retrospect, I realize now, with all my speculation I did during that Tervanti-us fight, I never brought up the fact that Theodora might actually still be alive. We saw her die, but we also know that whoever partnered with Tervanti-us had access to clone tech, which also we now know was stolen from him by his partner. And that the clone would have all the memories up until the moment of death of the original subject. Plus, we do know that it was something that she was theoretically dabbling with. We found shards of the mysterious lens sitting on her desk. The ones from the Rykad prison world that the warden used to create clones of himself. If we assume that Theodora was, in fact, paranoid and stuck under Kalkazar's thumb, faking her own death would be a pretty effective way to get out from under it. Oh boy, a lot of possibilities there, but it's hard to really narrow it down until, again, we get more context. That said, we'll hit the pause button for now. We'll give this place one more pass, figure out what we're doing with these level ups. And we'll pick up here next time. Still a ways to go, but it does feel like it's all finally starting to come together. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Yuri V23, Revenant, Alois, Aerobowman, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
Always keep your eye on the prize.